Eyup everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're all doing alright and having a good day so far. So the build that I've got for you today is a bit of an unusual one, not something that I've built before, but it is in fact part of my builds for spooky season, and yeah, I'm really excited to share it with you. I've been like happy stimming over it actually because I just love how it turned out. So yeah, I recreated the Goodsprings Prospector Saloon and General Store from Fallout New Vegas. So you might think, well, what has this got to do with Halloween or autumn? Fallout is a post-apocalyptic game set after a nuclear war, so how is that related? Well, in the Fallout universe, the bombs that caused the world to end essentially were dropped on the 23rd of October 2077, which as of right now is tomorrow actually, so happy anniversary of the Great War. So in Fallout 4 you can even see the Halloween decorations that people put up in like the surviving pre-war homes and the buildings and that. And just like how people dress up as non-spooky things for Halloween, I decided why not dress The Sims up and recreate something from one of my favourite games in the same way that like people dress up as like Darth Vader or a nurse for some reason. But yeah, I've wanted to do a build inspired by the Fallout universe for quite a while, and seeing as I'm playing Fallout New Vegas at the moment, I thought why not build Goodsprings. Goodsprings is a town in the game, and it's actually a town in real life in which like inspired the version in the game. But yeah, it's a town that you start the game in, and it has these like western type buildings, one which is a saloon and the other is a store. So if you're not familiar with the game, that's what I've built here. So I've set this lot as a bar, and it is a functioning bar. Some parts aren't functional, like there's an office and the store itself is not a functional store, but it is usable as a bar. But I've mainly built it for fun rather than trying to make it functional. It uses quite a lot of packs, mainly Strangerville, Get to Work, Journey to Batu. It also uses some like vampires and cats and dogs and whatever. But yeah, I didn't use any pack restrictions for this build like I usually would, just because I didn't want to like limit myself, because it can be quite difficult to recreate something from a game that has like a whole different look to it without using the packs that I used. And I couldn't really avoid using Journey to Batu, unfortunately. I know it's not exactly a pack that many players are fond of, but the items just suit this sort of build so well. Even though it is kind of like an old-timey western building, it's still set in a world that's in the future, so I guess like Batu, that sort of pack is like spacey, Star Warsy type stuff. But yeah, anyway, I'm just adding some details to the exterior of the saloon now, and I decided to use those flip-flop lights from the holiday celebration pack, even though that's not what they have in the Fallout version. They're just like string lights, but we don't have any lights like that actually emit light from them. We have some string lights from Parenthood, and then we have some from the holiday celebration pack, but they just don't look the same, and I want them to actually have like light come from them. And in the Fallout world, there's a lot of things that are repurposed for other things, like currency, for example. People no longer use dollars, they use bottle caps. And then yeah, I'm just figuring out what I want for the sign out front. I was going to make the sign out of like different things. I don't think I explained that well at all, but like the sign in the game is made from different signs, and I wanted to do that, but I then found this sign from Get Together, I think, that worked really nicely. I've not finished editing the video yet because I need to add pictures of the Fallout version over the parts where I'm talking about it, but I'll put pictures of the saloon and the store and everything as I'm building them, so you can see what they look like in Fallout for reference if you've never played the game before. And in front of the saloon in the game, there's these old motorbikes, and in The Sims we don't really have anything like that, so I just use these like scrappy old car parts from Eco Lifestyle, I think they're from. They're in the debug menu, and I used a lot of stuff from debug actually, especially on the outside part of the build. Then I'm just recreating this little part of the build where there's like bottles on a fence. This is probably my favourite part of Goodsprings, or one of my favourite parts of the game in general, just because it's so nostalgic to me. In the game you have like a tutorial quest where this woman called Sunny Smiles, she takes you to shoot some bottles out like the back of the saloon. And I first played Fallout New Vegas on Xbox 360 like years ago. I think I was like 18 when I played it for the first time, and I'd never really played shooting games before, so that part where I needed quests for me to like practice my aim and that, but I added bottles to the fence, and I do that a little bit later on. Then I'm just putting some crates down. I used quite a lot of stuff from cats and dogs as well, because there's quite a lot of like worn looking objects from that pack which suit this sort of build really well. Then for the bathroom inside the saloon, I used that wooden toilet, even though in the game they don't use that. It's just like a regular porcelain one, but it looks kind of like old and crappy, and we don't really have like a proper old grubby toilet, so I thought that wooden one fit alright. And weirdly there's this like rug inside the toilet in the Fallout version, so I just used the one from Strangerville, and I thought those floor tiles from Strangerville looked best for in here as well. In the game there's this storage bit which was once the male toilets, I think. Male or female, I'm not really sure. I think it's the male toilets. But yeah, in the Sims version it's just like a unisex toilet. But yeah, that's what's next door. It's just like a storage thing. And then the one on the end is blocked off, so to access it, usually you'd have to go outside and use a lockpick to open the door. And I think it's just for storage and that, so later on I put some stuff in there to like represent that. But your Sims will be able to access it from the outside door. Because the wooden sort of barriers to the door are just debug items, I'm not sure if they'll count as like a physical item in game, so your Sims should be able to use that door. But basically I've just like locked the doors that would usually be barricaded. I also used a lot of the wall details from vampires throughout the whole build really, just to give it a more like worn look. It's a structure that has survived a nuclear war after all, and I use a lot of the splatter marks as well. I'm using those lights that I think are from Cats and Dogs, or no, they're from Laundry Day stuff I think. And yeah, I turned them off because like in game, because in Fallout they're broken, and the other one that's in the toilet I just turned the brightness down quite a lot. I wanted to like recreate the lighting in the game as best I could to give it a more like atmospheric feel to it and to represent what it's like in the Fallout version as much as possible. Now I'm just doing the little office bit. In the game there's like a safe in here, it's a little floor safe, and you can use the terminal to unlock it and like raid the safe. I never do that because I always play good characters, but I might do another playthrough soon and just like do bad things and make bad choices, or do like the evil option or whatever. But yeah, I really like how this room turned out. I think that computer that I put down best represents the terminals in the Fallout world. Also, the door to this room is blocked off, so I just locked it in the Sims version like I said. And those shelves from Strangerville suit this build so well, so I put one in the old bathroom instead of that cabinet, which I think is from Island Living. It's like a scuba equipment storage cupboard thing. Then I used those metal shelves from Journey to Batu, and I don't think we have safes in The Sims, but I used this like black thing. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's like a side table. Well, it's from the shelf category. That's from Journey to Batu as well. And I know not as many people will be able to like download and play with this build just because it does use so many packs, and I do feel really bad about that. But I have made it. I've made like a little tour at the end, so you get to see it in its like finished form. Also, this build has took me like 3 days to do, and I did about an hour of planning before I started recording. I got a ton of like reference images from within like the Fallout game, and altogether I think I was recording for about 4 hours, with most of that being recorded yesterday. I'm recording this on Friday, so yeah, I did the bulk of the editing last night, cut out a lot of scrolling through the debug menu and cycling through objects to find the best fit, because there were a lot of that. And then I got screenshots and everything last night, finished editing for the most part yesterday, and then what I didn't finish I've done today. And then I've kind of had to script the video to a certain extent so that I can talk about what I was thinking at the time of building. So it's not really a script, just more of like a set of notes, like what objects I used and from which pack they're from, and kind of the thought process and why I put that down and stuff. So yeah, a lot of work has gone into this video, and it probably took me about an hour to find the right lot as well. Don't think I mentioned which lot I built it on, but it's built on, I can't remember the lot size, I always forget lot size, but it's built on this lot in Oasis Springs. It'll be in the description what size it is. But yeah, I knew that I wanted to build it in Oasis Springs, but I was also considering Strangerville. But Strangerville is more like red rocks, it don't really look like Goodsprings as much. I've just realised as well, Oasis Springs, Goodsprings. But yeah, took a lot of time, definitely one of my more like time consuming builds. But in saying that, it's probably the build that I enjoyed the most. Like the whole time I was just having a blast, and I was listening to a bit of music that's on the Fallout radio stations, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun. So yeah, I always recommend, like, if you do enjoy building, try building something from another game or like a TV show or a film or whatever. Not long after I started my channel, I built a cabin inspired by Leah's cabin from Stardew Valley, and that was loads of fun as well. So yeah, I definitely recommend building something from another thing. whether it's like a TV show or whatever, it's up to you, because it's just like proper fun to do. And it can be out, like I've seen people recreate that apartment from Friends or recreate the coffee shop. I've seen people make like hobbit houses, which I made Bilbo's house, like just the interior a while ago, and then I've done like some Harry Potter interiors as well, like I've done potions class and stuff, and one of the common rooms I think, or did I ever do that? I think it was one that I planned, but yeah, I did like potions class and transfiguration and all that, which I might do more of in the future, so let me know if you'd be interested in seeing some more like Harry Potter builds or whatever. But anyway, we're just doing the interior of the saloon now, and I realised that the dimensions aren't exactly the same to the game. That's one thing about building in The Sims that can be difficult. If you've ever tried to build your own house in The Sims, you'll notice it's never like the exact dimension, and that's just because the Sims 4 build mode is set to a grid, and we don't have like half walls like width wise, so it can be difficult to get like the right dimensions. But the Sims version is slightly wider than the Fallout version, but it's slightly shorter. But I think I got it fairly close and it looks alright. Then for the bar, I used the one from Get Famous because it looks quite worn and it's fairly close to the one that we have in Fallout. But the one in Fallout is like curved, I think, on the corner. And I used this back of the bar thing from Strangeville. Slightly clips through the... By the way, I don't know if you just heard that. It was next door's dog, I think. It slightly clips through the ceiling, so you can't see the top bit, like if you play with, like from inside the build, if that makes sense. Like I just play with half walls down. But yeah, it clips through a little bit. But I think this is a thing that looks most like what's behind the bar in the Prospector Saloon from the game. So I thought that that fit perfectly here. I just had to take some creative liberties because I couldn't really make exactly what's in the game. And then yeah, for the artwork, I just used what we have, like the film posters and stuff. The ones in Fallout are like films of that time. So like I said, the bombs dropped in 2077. So the sort of pre-war world setting was like heavily inspired by America in the 50s and 60s. So the style is called, I think it's called atom punk or retro futuristic. So like the clothing was quite 50s and 60s inspired, and the aesthetic was very kind of old fashioned, but yet they had like robots and plasma guns. So yeah, it's very sort of, that's like the sort of style of the time. So the films that are up in the Fallout version are reflective of that, and they seem to be in line with that like 50s and 60s style. And you can see in Fallout 4 as well, there's like radio shows, there's got a very like film noir type feel to them, if that makes any sense. I think I know what I mean, but hopefully you do as well. Then for the seating in like the bar side, in game there's these like diner type seats, but they're a lot smaller than the ones that we have in The Sims 4. The diner seats in The Sims 4 are ridiculously big. The Sims 4 has a thing for like making objects that wouldn't usually be massive, absolutely massive. Like the dollhouses, for example, they have absolutely no business being that big. I find it so annoying. And now we've moved on to the general store. Originally, I weren't going to do the general store. I was just going to make the Prospector Saloon and set it as a bar and that be it. But while planning, I thought, why not just go for like a full thing, like do the store as well. I haven't looked up on YouTube to see if anyone else has made the Prospector Saloon. I've not looked on the gallery either, just because I didn't want to like subconsciously copy anybody. But I thought if anyone else has made it, if I do the general store as well and then do a little bit at the back of like both of the buildings, which you'll see me do later on, I figured it'll separate my build from theirs. But like I said, I didn't want to subconsciously copy anyone, so I didn't bother looking. But I highly doubt that I'm the first person to build something like this or build something from Fallout anyway. So for the general store, I basically copy and pasted what I did with the saloon, but obviously smaller, and it's got like a different interior in that. For the sign, I was going to do something different, but I just went with the same letters from Dine Out because it's basically the same font in game. In the Fallout version, there's a workbench and a reloading bench outside. So I just placed down the archaeology table and the woodworking table for that. I've never played with that archaeology table, so I'm not really sure what you need to play with it. So I'm assuming you have to collect stuff from Selva Dorada, is that what the world's called, that you get with Jungle Adventure? So yeah, I'm not sure if that'll be like fully functional in terms of like what you need to play with it. But yeah, I decided that looked best there. Also, The Sims have announced that there'll be no more expansion packs in 2021. I wanted to know what your thoughts were on it, and if you feel, if you want to share them, put them in comments. I'm not that bothered, to be honest. I would like a game pack, but I think what I want most is to just have more updates to like current packs and have those pack refreshes that they've been talking about, and to like have bugs and crashing issues fixed. I've seen a lot of people complaining about lags, and I think The Sims 4 is getting to that point where The Sims 3 got to, where it basically became unplayable. I know on console it's not playable like at all if you have more than like 10 packs or something. But yeah, I think we just need some like bug fixes and like pack refreshers more than we need new packs. Though I hope it's not just going to be like a ton of kits for the rest of the year either. But anyway, I'm just doing the general store interior now, and this took me ages actually. I've cut it down, but I think I was doing the interior for about 45 minutes, and it's not even that big of an area to furnish. There's these wooden bookcases that are used as shelves, but we don't really have anything that looks like them in The Sims 4, so I just settled on using some side tables from Seasons. Then I decorated them with items that are close to what's in the Fallout version. I had to improvise a little bit, but you get the idea. The main thing that I struggled with was the middle part of the shop, where they've got these like open chest freezers. I must have gone through the entire catalogue, and when you have all the packs that takes a lot of time. But yeah, they're similar to those like open freezers you get in like a supermarket or like a frozen food shop, but we don't have anything that's like that in The Sims 4, so I just had to improvise again, and I put down some objects from Get to Work. I think there's these like display shelves, and I just sized them down a bit and put them there. Then I was looking for some flags to put down, or like banners, and I saw that bear flag, and it reminded me of the NCR, which is a faction from the Fallout universe, and their symbol is a two-headed bear. So the NCR are the new California Republic, and the symbol of California, like in the real world, is a bear, and then it's like a two-headed bear for the NCR in game, because it's like meant to be a mutated bear. But yeah, put down a banner with a bottle on it, because in Fallout there's a soft drinks company called Nuka-Cola. I thought that kind of hinted at that. And then I put down this other banner that looks a little bit like it's got a vault symbol on it. In the Fallout universe there was a pre-war company called Vault-Tec, and they built vaults and stuff, as you can probably guess, which were basically just fallout shelters to protect people from what at the time was the potential war. Well, they weren't just built to protect people, there's a lot of like lore surrounding them, but yeah, I thought that symbol on that hinted at that. And then I was looking for a fan for this desk, and then I found one from Get to Work, which I didn't even know we had in the game, so that was good. It looks very close to the one from the Fallout games, and I put that in the office in the saloon as well. I was saying in my last video that our boiler were having problems and we had no hot water. Well, I'm happy to say that we had the engineer out today and it's all fixed now. So yeah, I can't remember if I mentioned it, but we've had like 2 engineers working on it. One of them is from the landlord, like one that the landlord uses, and then the engineer from today was from like the manufacturer, because his boiler is less than a year old, so it's like under warranty and all that. But yeah, we had done whatever needed doing, so now we've got constant hot water instead of lukewarm water that goes cold after a few minutes. It was really weird though, because the engineer just like got on with it, like what needed doing, and me and my partner were just sat downstairs with like a cuppa and that, just sitting on our phones. Couldn't really do much else, because it's like, I don't know, it's always a bit awkward when you have a work person in like fixing your house or something. I don't know about anyone else, but I always feel proper awkward. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? I feel rude just like standing and watching them, but I also feel rude just disappearing and not talking to them at all. Either way, when they were done, they were like, "Alright love, all done, bye." And it was like, oh, and they just left. And I'm like, usually they say like, "Oh, this is what we're up with, this is what I fixed, or I placed a part on it," whatever. They usually say more than just "all done, bye." So I was a bit like, well, what we're up with then? And then the engineer gave my partner this like thing and like, "Oh, can you just put that in bin?" And after they went, my partner was like, "Oh, it looks like a heating thing." So we've just assumed that the heater plate was replaced. I don't know what about boilers or like that, so I'm just guessing, but still, like, a bit of a weird interaction. Anyway, just adding some additional details to the shop, making it look a bit more dingy and that. And then for the little bedroom thingy at the back, it's bigger than it is in the game, so that I could fit the bed next to the fridge. Well, I just put a little two-seater in here just to fill space up because it looked a bit bare when out there. Then I decided I'd do this area at the back, so there's like a trailer and a boarded up house at the back of the saloon and store, and it's like on this raised part. I've also done the terrain paint off camera because it took quite a while to do and the camera were like all over the place while I were doing it. But yeah, I got those wall details from Vampires and used that reddish brown swatch, and they're basically floating, but I put them as close to the trailer as possible to make it look rusted. And I put some like cracks on it and that. In the Fallout version it looks proper destroyed, it's basically just a metal frame, but I think it turned out alright. Got as close to it as possible, you can kind of tell what I was going for. And I also built the boarded up house, but I forgot to record it, but you'll see it in the screenshots and as I'm doing like more landscaping. It's boarded up in the game where you can't like get into it, but I did do the interior just in the Sims. I just made it look wrecked and stuff on inside, so I used stuff from Eco Lifestyle, like that broken fridge and that bath and some like rubbish piles as well, so your Sims can access it, but there's nothing really to access other than like a toilet and a sink. Then I'm just doing the landscaping now. In the Mojave, which is where the Fallout New Vegas is set, well, it's where Vegas is anyway in real life, but yeah, there isn't much like greenery at all, and in Goodsprings it's basically like desert plants and dry grass and bushes and that sort of thing, so I just emulated that as best I could. Used a lot of debug plants from Strangerville, and I also used some trees from Vampires because most of the trees don't have leaves on it either, so I needed some like bare trees that looked a bit dead. I also added a fence to that trailer area, and yeah, after that we'll be at the screenshots and the end of the build. So I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I really enjoyed building this, and I hope that you enjoyed watching it. If you did, please consider leaving a like on the video, it really helps me out. I won't be having any videos for you next week as I'll be having a week off, so I'm going away with my partner. But I hope that you all have a great weekend, a great Halloween if you're into that, and yeah, I'll see you all soon. Bye!